Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. This is MEMG Reads. This is new, so if you're watching this, hi, welcome. Especially hi and welcome if you're not one of my family and friends. Whilst I do appreciate the moral support, it would be nice if this reaches someone other than perhaps people that I already talk to about books so often. So yeah, what I wanted to do for my first video was kind of do a bit of a top reads, some of my most favourite books. I sort of imagined it to be my top 5 books. That proved really difficult. So what I've done is I've taken sort of 10 of my most favourite reads and thought I could just kind of go through some of those. Some of them are really recent reads, some are ones I've not read for quite some time and maybe could do with a reread. So yeah, just kind of picked off some of the ones from my shelf that I recommend most often to friends and family, and yeah, just talk a little bit about why I like them. Some of the details of some of them, like I say, I haven't read them in a while, so they're a little hazy. But yeah, maybe let's just dive in and see how we go. I haven't put them into any order. I've kind of got my cup of tea, so if you see me reaching back and forth, that's what I'm up to. Yeah, I haven't kind of put them in any particular order. So yeah, I'm just gonna start at the top of the pile and see how we go. So the first book that I've chosen is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. I have read this 2 or 3 times now. You'll see that I've got lots of tabs in this. I actually used it on a college assignment not so long ago, and yeah, it's just a great book. There's just Eleanor Oliphant is probably one of my favorite characters of all time in any book. Maybe I'll read like a little bit. I mean, this has been all over the place. It was the Costa Book Awards winner in 2017, so it's, I don't know when it was published, kind of around that time. Yeah, published in 2017. So it's been out a little while. It's not super recent, but the first time I read it, I was just in it straight away from the very first page. And it says, Eleanor Oliphant leads a simple life. She wears the same clothes to work every day, eats the same meal for lunch every day, and buys the same 2 bottles of vodka to drink every weekend. Eleanor Oliphant is happy. Nothing is missing from her carefully timetabled existence, except sometimes everything. And I just love this book. It looks at so many different things, mostly like loneliness and kind of human connection, and I don't know, those routines that we kind of get ourselves into, and kind of how easily it is to isolate yourself, or easy to isolate yourself, should I say. Yeah, recommend this to like literally everyone. Yeah, it's a really good read. So that's first up on the books. Like I say, these are in no order, so yes. Similarly to that kind of thing, if you like Eleanor Oliphant, it's completely fine. If you've already read that and I'm just harking on about something you've already read, then The Universe versus Alex Woods is likely up your street. This is by Gavin, Extence. I read this a really long time ago, so the details are quite hazy. Yeah, I mean, this was published in 2013, so yeah, I probably read it not that long after it came out. And I just remember, much like Eleanor Oliphant, just loving it. Although this one is less about an individual character for me and more about the connection. So it's described as a tale of unlikely friendship and an improbable journey. Alex's story might just strike you as one of the funniest, most heartbreaking novels you'll read this year. And I think that's what I really remember about it, is it made me laugh, it made me cry. I love a good book that makes me cry. So I just think if you like Eleanor Oliphant, this is kind of on the same sort of thing. And I think for a really long time, this sort of book was my favourite kind of read. You know, tales of unlikely friendships and kind of building connections with people and stuff where it was like just really not expected, and yeah, really gives you a good sort of punch in the stomach with the emotions. So yeah, I really love this. This is definitely something I want to reread in the not too distant future, because yeah, I think it's been such a long time since I read it. I think the details are a little hazy now, so it would be, yeah, maybe nice to dive back in. The next book is, so I've picked the next book, and it's the first in a trilogy, and actually out of the trilogy this isn't my favourite one, but I'd feel strange to recommend a second or a third book in a trilogy, because you need the backstory, right? Also, I don't have the second and third books in the trilogy to hand. I borrowed them, and I do want to get copies for my shelf, just to hold on to, because I know I will want to reread these at a later point. Instead of waffling about it, I'll just tell you what it is. It's The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. This is the first of 3 in a series, and it follows a woman named Amara who is part of a brothel in Pompeii. And like I say, I don't really want to give you too much. It says here that Amara was once a beloved daughter until her father's death plunged her family into penury. Now she is owned by a man she despises and lives as a slave in Pompeii's infamous brothel, her only value the desire she can stir in others. And this series is just fantastic. There's not a word wasted in any of these pages. Elodie is such a great writer, and the way she just builds characters, fantastic. There's such a strong female, feminine energy in these, which I love. Yeah, it's great. This is, like I say, this out of the 3 is not my favourite, but it's a good place to start, and the rest of the trilogy is fantastic. So yeah, totally recommend this. The next book on the pile, like I say, no order. I'm just picking them up at what's next. The next book on the pile is a non-fiction book, and it's The Myth of Normal by Gabor Mate. This is unreal. I read it a few years ago. I read it not long after it came out. Bought it in hardback because I'd got into, I'm just seeing when it was published, 2022 by the looks of it. Yeah, I bought this in hardback because I'm just a big fan of Gabor Mate's work. This is just so, it's so accessible for people who kind of want to understand a bit more about trauma and the impact that has on us as individuals, but also kind of the things in life that are maybe not considered traumatic, but still have a big impact. So it says in the inside cover, Western countries invest billions in healthcare, yet mental illness and chronic diseases are on a seemingly unstoppable rise. Nearly 70% of Americans are now on prescription drugs. So what is normal when it comes to health? So Gabor Mate, like I say, is amazing. If you don't know who he is, it's definitely up there. I do like to read non-fiction. It's always difficult recommending non-fiction to people if that's not their bag usually. This is really worth a read. Okay, where should we go next? Right, so the next one. If you haven't noticed already, I've got my Agatha Christie necklace on. You might have spotted my Poirot tattoo as I've been sat here wriggling around talking about books. So you might not be surprised to know, and if you're my family, you definitely won't be surprised to know, that I am a huge Agatha Christie nut. To not include one of her books felt wrong, but equally to try and pin one book down to join this top 10 was going to be impossible. I've chosen her autobiography, which is really interesting. I'm not going to talk about it too much because there's not a lot to say other than it follows her life. Yeah, I chose this because pinning one down of her Poirot stories, because it probably would be a Poirot that's my favourite, was too tricky just to fit into this video. So chosen her autobiography. Definitely give it a read. If you've read any of Agatha Christie's stuff, you'll find it really interesting. If you haven't, you'll probably also find it really interesting. She lived like a really interesting life, and maybe I'll do a wrap-up video, best Agatha Christie reads. I don't know, maybe I'll do that separately, but this is the one that's found its way into my top 10. Okay, what we're left with. So we're about halfway through. I have managed to garble on for quite some time. So the next book that I have put into my top 10 is a Haruki Murakami novel. This is a nice edition that I managed to get off Vinted, actually, I think. And this is Norwegian Wood. And it's been a really long time since I read this, much like a couple of the other books. There are a few moments in this where it's a real punch in the emotions, definitely. I love Murakami. I think his writing is quirky, don't get me wrong, but I love it. And yeah, it's such a great book. It says when he hears her favourite Beatles song, Toru Watanabe recalls his first love, Nayoko. I hope I'm pronouncing these names correctly. The girlfriend of his best friend, Kizuki. Immediately, he is transported back almost 20 years to his student days in Tokyo, adrift in a world of uneasy friendships, casual sex, passion, loss, and desire, to a time when an impetuous young woman called Midori marches into his life, and he has to choose between the future and the past. I love Murakami's writing. It's kind of easy to. He writes in a way that's easy to read, even if it's not always easy to understand. Does that make any sense whatsoever? I'm not sure. His writing's off the wall, so quite often you're just, what on earth is going on? But yeah, I love his books. But this, of the ones I've read so far, Kafka on the Shore is on my list to read this year. But of the ones I've read so far, this is up there for me, and is one that I have definitely recommended to multiple people when they've asked me for book recommendations. So add it to your list if you've not covered it already. Right, what have we got left? I'm going to talk about this one next. So the next one I've got is a Ben Elton book. I've read quite a bit of Ben Elton over time, and a lot of his books are very silly, humorous takes on various different societal things, a bit of satire type stuff. Really funny, great writer. He's obviously done a lot of writing for TV and things too. And then he released this, Two Brothers, and it is so different from all of the other things of his that I had read before, but my goodness, this is such a great book. Again, recommend this to everyone. It's been a while since I read it, so maybe it's due a reread, but yeah, published in 2012. I loved it. It says, two babies are born, two brothers, united and indivisible, sharing everything, twins in all but blood. As Germany marches towards its Nazi Armageddon, the ties of family, friendship and love are tested to the very limits of endurance, and the brothers are faced with an unimaginable choice. Which one of them will survive? So yeah, set in the war. It's just brilliant. Like I say, definitely need to give this a reread. It's been some time since I've read it, but yeah, if you like war fiction, this is a really, really strong place to start, in my opinion. Okay, so the last three, weirdly, if I had picked a top three, these are probably the ones at the moment, and like I say, it does change all the time. At the moment, these are the three that probably I would have picked off the shelf. So my long-standing favourite, and if I really, really, really had to pick one book, it would be this one. And that is Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. Again, bit like the Elodie Harper Wolf Den trilogy, this is probably, I'm not going to say it's not my favourite, but the second one, World Without End, is as good, if not better, than this one. But much like I was saying with the Wolf Den, feels weird to just have a favourite that's kind of partway through a series. But yeah, this is amazing. It is hefty, as you can see. I regularly sort of dip in and out of it. This is kind of my latest reread. I've kind of got about halfway. I just pick it up and put it down, really, because I've kind of read it quite a few times. It is a beast. This copy, I've got pieces of paper falling out of it everywhere. This copy, yeah, over 1,000 pages. So it's a hefty one. And they continue in that vein. World Without End is also, a similar chunk. But there's something about these stories that are... It doesn't feel like you're reading 1,000 pages. The characters are enjoyable. It moves at quite a quick pace. I never ever feel bored. Like I say, I've read this several times. I don't reread stuff a lot. This is probably my 4th, 5th go around of this now. Pillars of the Earth tells the story of Philip, Prior of Kingsbridge, a devout and resourceful monk driven to build the greatest Gothic cathedral the world has known. of Tom the mason who becomes his architect, a man divided in his soul. Beautiful, elusive Lady Aliena, haunted by a secret shame, and of a struggle between good and evil that will turn church against state and brother against brother. A spellbinding epic tale of ambition, anarchy, and absolute power, set against the sprawling medieval canvas of 12th century England. This is Ken Follett's classic historical masterpiece. If you like historical fiction, if you like medieval historical fiction, and you have not read this, pick it up. It's so good. I love it. It's fantastic. Give it a read. And then the last two are two that I've probably read more recently. So I'm gonna start with. I'm gonna take a sip of my tea. It's first what I'm gonna do. So, The Square of Sevens, Laura Shepherd Robinson. I've read several of Laura's books. This is my favourite one of the ones I've read. I know she's got a new one coming out this year. It might already be out. Not sure. But this is my favourite. And I have ended up buying several copies of this. I started reading it for a book club that I run where I live, and went on holiday, left the copy behind with, about half the book still to go, and I was still so invested in it. So I bought it and downloaded it on my Kindle because I just had to carry on reading it because I was absolutely hooked. I since then got passed that copy on to someone else and have lent it, and then have bought another copy for my shelf just to make sure that I always have a copy of it on my shelf. This is so good. It's historical fiction and a bit of mystery. Well, actually quite a lot of mystery. It's not a bit of mystery. It's a lot of mystery. I'll just read a bit of the inside cover. It says, raised on the roads of Cornwall, a young girl known only as Red travels from village to village with her fortune-telling father, paying their way with an arcane method of cartomancy known as the Square of Sevens. When their luck sours, Red's father befriends a gentleman scholar, offering him an ancient document containing the secret of the Square of Sevens in exchange for the scholar's promise to take Red into his care. Raised as a lady amidst the Georgian splendour of Bath, Red's fortune-telling skills are a delight in polite society, but she cannot ignore the questions that gnaw at her soul. Who was her mother? How did she die? Who are the enemies that her father always feared would find him? These mysteries take her from Bath to London, from the ribaldry of the Bartholomew Fair to the grand houses of two of the most powerful families in England. But others have embarked upon their own investigations, determined to locate the stolen secret of the Square of Sevens. Red's quest attracts their notice, bringing her great danger, but also the possibility of great reward. It is brilliant, and I love it. I've probably said that about everything. I'm going to watch this back and probably edit it and tidy it up a little bit, and I've probably held each book up and gone, I love it, but it's great. It's really, really good. And all of these books in this video I would wholeheartedly recommend, but if you're going to start anywhere, this is it. Especially if historical fiction and a bit of mystery is your bag. This is that. Final book is one that I've read this year. I think I am going to do some sort of maybe halfway through the year wrap up of what I've read up until this point. And so this will probably feature on that as well. But this is definitely solidly in my top 5 books, and it's Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. I'm sure people have seen this around everywhere. I'd seen it around everywhere, which is what made me pick it up. And it's a kind of modern retelling of David Copperfield, which I haven't actually read and is on my list to read, and I don't know whether the reading of this would have been made better or worse having read that before, but I adored this book. Adored is probably the wrong word. It's bleak. This is bleak. It's not uplifting. It's not joyous. It's not a light-hearted read, but it is fantastic. It says Demon's story begins with his traumatic birth to a single mother in a single wide trailer, looking like a little blue prize fighter. For the life ahead of him, he will need all of that fighting spirit, along with buckets of charm, a quick wit, and some unexpected talents, legal and otherwise. In the southern Appalachian Mountains of Virginia, poverty isn't an idea. It's as natural as the grass grows. For a generation growing up in this world, at the heart of the modern opioid crisis, addiction isn't an abstraction. It's neighbours, parents, and friends. Family could mean love or reluctant foster care. For Demon, born on the wrong side of luck, the affection and safety he craves is as remote as the ocean he dreams of seeing one day. The wonder is in how far he's willing to travel to try and get there. Suffused with truth, anger, and compassion, Demon Copperhead is an epic tale of love, loss, and everything in between. I don't think I have enough words to describe how much I loved this book. And like I say, it's not an uplifting read. It's heartbreaking and tragic. And there are so many moments where I just felt absolutely just devastated, really, I guess. But it's such a good read. So yeah, if bleak and, very emotional is your bag, Demon Copperhead's your go-to. I'll read David Copperfield and see, maybe read them in tandem or something and see kind of where the similarities are and whether that adds to the experience or not. But yeah, this is definitely in my solid top 5 of all time as it stands. Could all change. Could read 5 fantastic books in the next week and, all change. But there we are. So that is my top 10. I'll list them below, post them on the Instagram, that kind of thing. Have you read any of them? Have you enjoyed them? Have you not enjoyed them? Do you agree with any of my top 10? Are there any on here that perhaps you think, oh, now I'm going to go and read that? I'd love to hear from you. Put it in the comments, let me know. I was going to do some nice tidy wrap up, but they're all in a pile on the floor. I did promise you it wouldn't be tidy or polished, so glad I'm living up to the hype. Anyway, if you have stayed to the end and listened to me ramble on and on and on about all these books that I love, then amazing. And I hope you'll return to watch the next instalment. Thinking I'll probably do a video over the next week or two about what I read in May. I read some really good books in May. So it'd be good to do a bit of a wrap up and kind of talk about each of those. And, if there's anything you particularly want to hear me talking about or want me to shut up about, then that's great. Tell me that too. Otherwise, I'll catch you soon. See ya.